Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, Rotarians and guests. We're so happy to have everyone here today. Today is March 22nd, and we are the Rotary Club of Gainesville. At this time, for guests and visiting Rotarians who are virtually joining us on Zoom, we'd like to ask you to identify yourself in the chat. And if you're watching on YouTube, please register your participation by sending an email to info@rotarygainesville.org. Also, I want to remind you, if you walked in and started having wonderful fellowship and didn't get to have your badge scanned, just want to remind everybody, you can do it on the way out, but try to do that when you come in. And if not, then let's make sure we get registered for your food today. Glad to have you all here with us and have such a big crowd spring break week here in Gainesville. Okay, without further ado, Pete, I see you ready to help us song and pledge.
Well, just a comment anyway. So many children, while they're growing up, will threaten to run away from home. And for some parents, that's what keeps them going. We're going to sing God Bless America. God bless America, land that I love, stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the valleys, through the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Please join me in pledging allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Pete. At this time, we have an invocation via Zoom from Kevin Thorpe.
May we pray. Lord, we are overwhelmingly grateful for this new day, one that you have provided. We thank you for each and every perfect gift that you have given us within this period. We thank you that even in periods of unrest, our trust remains in you. We thank you for today's presentation and for our presenter. Thank you for all that she adds to the city of Gainesville and to the ultimate life of our community. Continue to bless what we do and what we say. It is for your sake and for your glory that we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much, Kevin. We appreciate it. At this time, you may be seated unless you are a visiting Rotarian or a Rotarian with a guest. And TJ is going to come around and let you introduce your guest.
Thank you. We are very pleased to have with us today our grandson, Asher Lozano.
Good afternoon. Whoa, everybody. Today I have as my guest, Pastor Gerard Duncan. I know many of you know him. He's the pastor of Prayers by Faith, and he and I are involved in all sorts of other skullduggery in the community. And welcome to Gerard.
Well, this is hello and goodbye, and thank you for putting up with us. We'll be out of here next week. We'll be back till January. So anyway, many thanks for your hospitality all the way through. Okay, Connie and Bob.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. I'm Denise Ferrero. It's so nice to be back in person, waving at people I haven't seen in a long time. This is my husband, Daniel Nee. He's the interim city attorney for the city of Gainesville.
All right, hello. I have Julie Mitchell, who is my business partner with us today. She is our Director of Interior Design.
Joining me today is the outreach coordinator for Alachua Habitat for Humanity, Don Campbell.
Joining me today is Patrick Howard, the reverse of our member Howard Patrick, and he's one of the smartest men in the city, my friend.
And I'm Alan Richard. No, I'm Richard Allen. And joining us today is Cornelia Holbrook. And she was here last week as well. Look forward to having her come to future meetings. Thank you.
All right, well, we certainly welcome everyone. At this time, we're going to go into announcements. Scott, you want to talk with us about a fellowship opportunity for Habitat?
And just another note for folks, there's a silver Tahoe blocking Hill's Barbecue from leaving.
All right, thanks, TJ. So it's coming up Saturday at 10 o'clock is the Habitat Build Site Tour. We're going to meet at the Habitat Restore at the corner of 23rd Avenue and 6th Street, right across from Ward Supermarket. So TJ is going to put out a notice right after the meeting with a button you can click and register your interest in participating. So I look forward to hosting you on Saturday.
All right, and we have Harvey Baxter, who's going to talk with us about another Rotary opportunity for fellowship.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. On behalf of the Stark Rotary Club, after you go to the Habitat event on Saturday, Stark Rotary is having their Beast Feast at the Bradford Sporting Clays in Graham. It's a smaller and rednecky version of the Wild Game Feast. I can say that because they still love me up there. Anyway, I have tickets if anybody's interested. You can see me after the meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Harvey. We always love it when you visit. So at this time, I am going to turn the program over to President-elect Greg.
Thank you, Melanie. Good afternoon and welcome. Today, I'm filling in for President David Gracie as he and his family are on a well-deserved break for spring break with their son Cecil. And looking in emails that came in this week, District Governor Rich Cooper sent one yesterday, and it mentioned a couple of things that are happening that you might want to be aware of if you didn't get a chance to see that email. One is the District Training Assembly and Conference that'll be held at the Hyatt downtown in Jacksonville. That is Friday, April 29th and Saturday, April 30th. If you need help signing up, please contact me. I encourage you to attend if you can, as you will learn much about our Rotary in its district projects and such, and just learn much about how Rotary functions. Also, he gave us an update on the Ukrainian efforts, the relief efforts where we were raising funds last week. And I'm just going to quote real quickly so I get it all correct. District Governor Rich said, "I'm happy to report that the generous support from the Rotarians in our district is already headed to Ukraine. It is where it is very much needed. The funds that have already been collected through our York Foundation, which is our own E.T. and Vam York, past district governor and president of this club in the past. That foundation, those funds have been wired to the Rotary Club of Warsaw, where they are working with Rotarians from the Rotary Club of Lviv, I believe, to restock hospitals throughout the Ukrainian area with much needed supplies. The funds going to the Rotary Foundation Disaster Relief Fund, another arm of this, will be used for $25,000 and $50,000 grants to the Rotary clubs of Ukraine. So also I'd like to bring to light that our own Dana Miller, Rotarian of this club, she's the director of Waste Pro, their governmental affairs branch, and she recently received the Roseanne Morse Able Award for her work in the community to help first responders. Our club is proud of all the good work that all our Rotarians do in the community and beyond this community as well. Also, real quick note, TJ and Courtney Pache, I think we heard that they're expecting a child, and I think we now know it might be a boy. So we want to congratulate them on that. So thank you, TJ. And I believe with that, I'd like to turn the program over to our program chair, Eric Godet, to introduce today's speaker.
Thank you, Greg, giving us a taste of what we're going to get ready to have in the new year. It's a wonderful thing. I have the honor today of introducing Cynthia Curry. Cynthia Curry is our city manager right now, and to tell you a little bit about her. With more than 35 years of experience as leader, strategic communicator, and manager, Cynthia W Curry joined the city of Gainesville as an interim city manager in November 2021. Following her successful work as the diversity officer at the Everglades Foundation, in this role, Cynthia worked closely with the organization's CEO and board chair to forge community relationships and collaborative partnerships in service of the organization's diversity and inclusion goals. Prior to her work with the Everglades Foundation, Ms. Curry served for more than 6 years as the Vice President of Finance and Administration, CFO for Florida Memorial University in Miami Gardens, Florida. Her portfolio included the areas of controller, budget and cash management, procurement, human resources, auxiliary services, facilities management, security, transportation, and risk management. We have a well-rounded individual here. Ms. Curry is also a graduate of the University of Miami, where she obtained her bachelor's and master's of arts in politics and public affairs. As a seasons and results-oriented business manager, Ms. Curry has served as an assistant county manager, a senior advisor for Miami-Dade County, Office of the Mayor, handling the management and oversight of a vast array of departments, and has served as senior vice president for business and finance. As chief financial officer for the Florida International University in Miami, Florida also. She is also an entrepreneur, strategic thinker, and problem solver. Ms. Curry has extensive experience in working with county and municipal, private, and academic sector entities to advance strategic priorities while working as the president and chief executive officer of her own company, CWC and Associates, Inc. She has served on the governor's Emergency Financial Oversight Board to the city of Miami, was a founding member of the South Florida chapter of the National Forum for Black Public Administrators, and a 2-term national president of the organization. Ms. Curry is also a recipient of the Marks of Excellence Public Service Award from the National Forum for Black Public Administrators, the organization's highest honor bestowed upon individuals for distinguished public service. Let's please give a big round of applause for our city manager, Cynthia Curry.
Good afternoon. I'm Cynthia. I was born by the river in East Palatka, Florida. So my roots are very country and I'm very simple. I'm number 7 out of 8 kids. My dad was a pastor. My mom kept 8 kids. But she went to seminary with my father. So we grew up in a house of people who were very convicted, very disciplined. So with that, I kind of cut from that same mold. But thank you so much for inviting me. I am honored. I moved to Gainesville about 2 years ago. As you heard from Eric, I have quite a few stripes on my back. And so I felt that, you know, coming home to the river was a good thing in East Palatka. It would be calm and I would be able to relax and invite my grandkids and have my 2 kids, my daughter and my son, both grown adults, of course, come and visit me. And one day I got a call and I, you know, didn't think that it was serious. Paynes Prairie is one of my favorite places here because I'm country and I like to watch gators. And I'm always told, Cynthia, please don't try to engage, you know, just watch them. I am a little crazy and I would like to engage, but I know better. But I went to Paynes Prairie. I went up to the viewing tower, and a retired professor physician from the University of Florida was up there with his camera equipment, and he was taking pictures and he was watching me because I was struggling with a decision. And he said, "What you thinking about?" And I said, I got a call and I've been asked to submit an application for a position, but I don't know. I don't think so. And I said, "I don't think I'm going to do it." And he says, "That's probably the best decision." And so I did, of course, accept the position, and and he saw it in the news, and I got an email from him. And he says, "I thought you said you weren't going to do it." And I said, "Well, I did, but here I am." But I am honored to serve. Of course, you all know that a city manager's job, that role is very situational because, I'm at the wheel. Dan knows what I mean. Dan Nee, my colleague. And I am at the wheel of 7 elected officials, 4 of whom will term out. And I'm left in an even more situational situation. Tenuous, but for me, quite frankly, it is emboldening. And I guess it's because I'm into that kind of alligator struggling kind of a thing. The city of Gainesville, it needed leadership. And I do consider myself a leader. I'm not afraid to say that. I know it brings a lot of different connotations, but I am a leader. And if not now, when for the city of Gainesville? I can assure you that based on what I have experienced and come to know over the last 4 months, the time is now for the city of Gainesville. I'm not quite sure how much of my brand the city of Gainesville is really willing to absorb, being very honest with you. But the demand and cry from the neighbors and residents are strong as they reach out and they engage and they ask to be more engaged with issues, as our commission relies very heavily on staff implementing policies and procedures that they approve. The pressure is on and the expectations are high to get the results and to show progress. And so I realize that after going through a lot of the roles that I have been able and quite frankly very blessed to serve in, and coming here to the city of Gainesville, not realizing that I would actually be in this space. And after 2 years of COVID, quite frankly, putting more stress and quite frankly, increasing the expectations of government. The city of Gainesville has come out of that time frame, those 2 years and probably another 5 before that, in a state that I don't mind sharing is a little tattered. And we as leaders and as business partners who look at the city for leadership should know that. As I have experienced the city and predicament of the city, I think our elected officials and I know our charter officers are a lot more aware of that predicament. And I will share that with you because I think that it is important for you to know that. As I walked into the city about 4 months or so ago, I walked into a situation, quite frankly, and I'm blessed that I did because the state auditor general had already been on the ground and had done some assessments, and I'm sure you read about them. And the assessment concluded that the city's finances really needed to be shored up, and not the finances, but just the organization and how we go about doing our business. And so the financial underpinnings of the city needed to be shored up. When I walked into the city, the silo scenarios that we hear about, they did exist. But I will tell you, in the last 4 months, those silos are melting. They are breaking down. I'm pleased to have here with me today a young lady. I will call her young. She may not feel it after working for me for the last couple of months. But her name is Yvette Carter, and she worked for GRU for many years, and she now works for me, but for GRU as well, as the Director of Government Affairs and Community Relations. She knows everybody in town and is related to probably 144,000 of the 145,000. but Yvette knows everybody. And she is on our team. She is a one city girl. She works for the general government side of the house as well as the GRU side of the house. It's one house. It's called the City of Gainesville. And so I am so pleased, Yvette, to have you on my team. And Tony Cunningham would say the same. But our financial house is shaping up because, as opposed to spending a bunch of money, which we are spending some on external audit, external financial services to come in and shore us up. GRU had great talent as it relates to accounting services, certified public accountants, and folk who had, quite frankly, the experience on the general government side to help. And we just simply needed to ask for that help. And I did. And so on the general government side of the house, we have a GRU team coupled with those folk who are in the accounting services division of our finance department, and they are there getting it done, preparing for the external auditors to come in to do their work. But we needed that kind of cooperation, participation, collaboration among talent that was already in the city of Gainesville. And so for me, and for Mr. Cunningham, even though he's not here, we are one city, we are one team, and we rely on each other to fix things. On the HR side of the city of Gainesville's house, again, we have 27 employees and 11 of them are vacant. And so, of course, we are competing in an environment where everybody is pulling for talent. And so it is not very easy to fill those positions, but we will fill those positions. But what I am saying to you is, again, the basic structure and foundation of our house is just a little bit off right now, and we are working very hard to pull it back together. On the technology side of the house, and these are all basic things as business people, you know, are critical to your organization, right? And so the city had an ERP, and it changed out 3 months before the end of the fiscal year. And so for those of you who've been through that, you know, when that happens, you don't have a team in there that really is a part of, you know, your legacy as well as the new system and how data transfers and the whole 9 yards. Well, ours was messy, and it still is messy. And we're working on that. And it has also impacted the financial side of the house because of the quality of the data. And on the community relations side, which is why I needed Yvette so badly, the city, because of the silos, needed to be in a position to be viewed as willing collaborators and communicators and engagers. And that is very important. Government is about people, regardless of how sticky, how complicated, how simple an issue may be. It still boils down to people, whether they are business owners, entrepreneurs, or folk looking at the city of Gainesville to expand the business that may already be here, or to come into the city to start a new business. Just the ability to be able to have someone inside government who's able to help to navigate the red tape as a business person who simply wants to get on the ground and, you know, employ folk and provide a service. And so using that as an example, because I am here with business partners and folk, I wanted to just make sure that you know that a part of the focus that I have and a part of the focus that I've spoken with the city commission about is making Gainesville, the city of Gainesville, more welcoming as it relates to the business community and more welcoming as it relates to any of our partners. We're surrounded by two wonderful institutions, the University of Florida and Santa Fe. And of course, we have the Chamber, we have the Alachua Public School System, we have all kinds of community-based organizations and community service-based organizations that play a role in what we do. We as an internal organization cannot do it all, and we certainly, if we attempt to do it in a vacuum, we will fail. And so my approach as we move forward is to make sure that that collaborative experience is played out with every director that works for the city of Gainesville. A part of what I've been able to do working with my staff is to create something called Community First. And it is to choose a neighborhood in each of the 7 areas that we have for districts. Of course, I know we have a couple of at large, but choose a neighborhood and actually set up a mini city hall in that neighborhood with one of the directors who generally knows nothing about what happens outside of, for example, the fire department. The fire chief for the city of Gainesville is also the hub manager for the Porter's neighborhood. And so he meets with the folk in the Porter's neighborhood on a weekly basis. They meet at Shady Grove Primitive Baptist Church, I believe it is. I was there with them last night. They came in force the very first meeting because as usual, they just thought, okay, so I have access to, I don't know, 10 or 15 city department directors and I'll go over, but they won't be back. And so we've been back every week, not in force, but that fire chief is there every Monday evening at 5 o'clock, meeting with the residents of that area who are interested in coming out and talking about their issues, and their issues don't languish. We take care of them. That fire chief is empowered to communicate with anybody in the city that needs to be communicated with to address an issue that is important to someone sitting in that room. That is how we go about our business. We are responsive, and that is the trademark of my tenure over the 30, almost 40 plus years that I've been in business. I know I look young, but I'm not. But that has been the trademark, to be responsive and to present quality work and not be afraid to put the hours in to present quality work. That is the trademark. That is the expectation. So if Yvette is looking young to you now, just, give her a little time. Just give her a little time. I'm from the country. I believe in hard work. I believe in smart work. I did attend the University of Miami. I'm sorry to have to share that with y'all, but I love the Canes. But I also love the University of Florida. I love this community, and let me tell you why. My father was a pastor at Bartley Temple United Methodist Church. My grandfather was the pastor of Mount Pleasant United Methodist Church, dating back to almost 1929. And so my mom's best friends, my mom's passed on, but her best friends lived here in the city of Gainesville. T.B. McPherson and all of those folk were my family's good friends. And so I came here to play and to go to church. And so I consider Gainesville my home, even though I know East Palatka is up the road a little bit. But when I've had just a little bit too much of Gainesville, I go to East Palatka. And I sit down by the river and throw my pole out and fish a little bit and look for a gator. But since I have been in the city of Gainesville, some good things have come to pass actually at the city. And I have shared with you that there are some things that do need to be addressed. Finances, human resources, technology, and the way we engage with our community. They do need to be addressed. And I don't think anybody would argue with that. We can always improve, and that is what we are about. But we have also had the good fortune of being the recipient of $32.4 million of ARPA funds. These American Rescue funds. They have come to the city. I know our commission's very excited about spending those funds. But those funds are once in a lifetime, because you would hope that nothing like COVID, crosses us again, as we know we're still dealing with it. But the likelihood of that is not good. And so we want to make the best use of those funds. And I am hoping that as we continue to communicate with the commission and work with them as those funds are programmed, that we will have a great result. And that result will be more about resiliency versus just the one-time use of funds that we will not be able to leverage and see them making a difference in the long term. We've also had the good fortune over the last month or so for me to focus more on housing. I know there've been lots of interest, of course, in affordable housing, rightfully so. 16,000 or more units of housing, affordable housing, a shortfall here in the city of Gainesville because of the burden of affordability. That is quite a bit. We have housing partners, Habitat for Humanity. Thank you so much for what you've done in the Duval community with those 11 homes that I know you've started working on, but partners with the city. Many more opportunities for partnering with the city. I was able, as I said, in the past month or so, to put my arms around what exactly is happening as it relates to funds that the city of Gainesville has to impact the affordable housing arena. And it's quite frankly significant. Again, it is about the splintering of resources and the splintering of how we message. what we do to the community. And we will be working on that in order to make sure that we have, as Yvette is responsible for, not only working with the neighborhoods that we will be working with in particular, but with the community services fairs that we will have throughout the community, 4 of them, so that regardless of what it is that you have an interest in, at some point during the year, you will have an opportunity, if interested, or residents that you communicate with, to come into those fairs, have those services, folk around who can talk about it, can schedule meetings with you prior to getting there, and have the opportunity to engage on a subject matter that is important to that community. We need to have that kind of outreach and engagement in our community, and we will have it. We've also had the good fortune of being awarded $10.6 million from the Federal Transit Agency to increase our buses, the purchase of buses, and to do an East Side hub in the East community area. East Gainesville community area. And that was just a recent award from the FTA. But the city is poised to do a lot of good things, but it does need to have steady and consistent leadership. When you don't have steady and consistent leadership, sometimes you may mean well, but you lose focus of the very underpinnings that keep your organization going, like finance and like human resources and like technology and like the ability to really communicate with the folk that you have been honored to serve. And it is an honor to serve. Public service is not easy work. I know a lot of people think that it is, but if you take it seriously, it really is about working with people, regardless of how good, bad, or indifferent you may feel. Everybody deserves a house to live in. I mean, it is something, you know, decent health care. And to the degree that government has the resources to provide those services, you get them out to the people as best you can, as quickly as you can, so that they can feel the impact of their tax dollars or just the opportunity to be served in a way that they should be served. And so again, for me, it just simply boils down to people and how well you treat them and how seriously you take the role that you have been honored to serve in. It is an honor for me to serve in this interim role. I know that when I was appointed interim, there was a question about what does interim mean? Well, to me, it's emboldened. It is about getting the job done, regardless of whether I'm in this position for another year or another 6 months. If I have to move and shake some things to get some things done, I'm gonna move and shake them. And if I can make a difference, that is the intent, I will make that difference. If I'm not here in another 6 months or a year, that is a decision that is out of my control. But for as long as I'm in control and I'm interim city manager, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. And so that's all I have to say about that.
So if there's any questions for Cynthia, please wait for TJ to bring the mic around and she'd be happy to answer. Thank you.
On now, yes. Manager Curry, I'm Robert Mounts, known to Yvette Carter, and I want to thank you for your elevating Tony Jones, for bringing in people like Yvette, and for being the person you are. You may know me as an ally of Faye Williams, who says hello from Porter's. I was a
Who
neighborhood.
doesn't know Faye Williams, right?
Well, yeah.
She is my friend.
I'm also a guest columnist in the Gainesville Sun. I've written quite a bit about development issues in Gainesville. The one that's coming up hard and fast on us this spring is the latest effort to implement inclusionary zoning by allowing quadruplexes throughout all residential neighborhoods and getting rid of any occupancy limits and things like that. The issues which are very much concerned to particularly the university context area and community. And recently, I understand the commission agreed to hold workshops. But I will tell you, in the 4 years since GNV Rise was tabled, and they asked for better community engagement, our perception is they've never really gotten it right. And I wonder if you would favor a town hall type setting where the commissioners themselves are actually present and hear directly from the public.
Well, Mr. Mounts, I can assure you that we will have community workshops around not only the inclusionary zoning ordinances that will be presented to the board, ultimately, but same thing with the exclusionary zoning ordinances. To commit to you that I can have the commissioners present is a no-no. I can commit to you that they will have workshops, they will be invited to those workshops, and I am sure that they will probably attend those workshops, but I can't guarantee it. But we will clearly have workshops, not only around inclusionary zoning and exclusionary zoning, but around the whole framework of affordable housing, as we have tried to lay that out over the last couple of weeks, and we presented it to the board last Thursday. But I hear your concern. I wanted to make it clear last week when we presented the affordable housing framework that it was in fact context for us as staff to understand fully what we had and be more informative when we come out to the workshops with the community. But I hear you. I will do my very best to communicate with commissioners the importance of being present. And I'm sure that they will make it a priority. But to guarantee it, clearly I can't, but I will do the best that I can to make sure that those workshops are held in the community so that we as staff can get that feedback and incorporate it into the recommendations that we ultimately present to the commission.
Next question. I get the microphone. Oh. Thank you, Manager Curry, for the wonderful presentation. My question focuses around the city as a place to work. And obviously you are a very committed, driven individual who wants best for the city. How is it that we balance that commitment and that drive, which obviously you have, with the needs of employees who all of us as Rotarians want them to be members of our community, don't want them just to be locked up in City Hall, but want to see them at T-ball games, want them to join us here at Rotary, and want them, because who works for the city is a reflection of us as citizens, want them to be happy in those roles. And I just want to know what kind of efforts exist to make sure that as you see that vision, it's not getting in the way of people working for the city and being happy in doing so.
Wow. I think that that is critical. And I think that it has a lot to do with work culture, which we have been talking about. Actually, in the last week, we've had a lot of conversation about work, the environment, the culture of the city and how our employees feel about where they work. And that is a big part of what we would like to address. I hate, Yvette, to keep pulling you into this thing, but I can't help it. Yvette's work in that whole diversity and inclusion and just a healthy workplace is so important. She did a lot of that work when she was in GRU with some consulting support. But we have asked our new HR director, her name is Laura Gretz. She's very, very good to incorporate that in terms of how we work with our employees in terms of not only succession planning, but in terms of their own ability to be trained up and know more about what it is that they do on a daily basis in terms of benchmarking, and also growing them in terms of their involvement with the external community in associations or networking organizations that will, of course, continue to help to grow them and their character as individuals. And so I agree with you. Again, it is a part of an extended community engagement and an outreach program that we are working on. Actually, Yvette will be presenting to me tomorrow, and we will start presenting with commissioners on Thursday, one-on-one meetings, talking about work culture and how we would like to engage to have a healthier workplace, just in general. So I agree with you. Again, the last 2 years has been very difficult, not only on the city of Gainesville, but it's been difficult on a lot of employers in terms of, re-engaging our employees. aside from what's happened over the last 2 years relative to COVID, quite frankly, for the city, it's just really about a lot of change, a lot of transition, and not feeling comfortable about necessarily moving out of your space, not feeling sure about where you are, how long you're going to be there because of the transition. I did come in with change. I acknowledge that. But in order to get past some of the things that I needed to get past, I felt like those changes were necessary. It's not indicative of what happens, beyond that. You make change only when you feel it's absolutely necessary. And so I say all of that to say that we want the employees of the city of Gainesville to feel confident that they are valued, not only in the workplace, but as they participate in the community at large.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Helen Warren here, was previously a city commissioner, and I'm really pleased with the outline that you've given as your focus for how you will approach many matters here. But I didn't hear much about the education aspect of possibly the city being more actively partnered with the Children's Trust. And I know, well, when I had been on the commission, we were talking about different opportunities, maybe to have the city recreation centers that are close to where people live available for after school programs. And I was wondering if anything has moved forward in that area.
It actually has. It was prior to my coming in, however. The commission has approved a youth development division of the Park, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs Department. They've actually funded it, and I believe this year it may have been funded at a level of 300 to start to staff up and bring on some operational costs, including vans and such, to support the programming for young folk. And there is actually money in there on a recurring basis to continue with that particular youth division of our Parks Department. I actually had a conversation yesterday with Mr. Shane Andrews, who is the incoming interim superintendent, about opportunities for some campaigns with our young people. And I actually met about a week or so ago, compliments of Yvette Carter, apparently star of this meeting. I met with Wayne Carter, who is in a partnership with the Children's Trust for some youth opportunities over the summer. And we've also been talking to our police department, our fire department, and GRU to create a cadet program for young people, I believe between the ages of 14, is it, Yvette, help me?
14 to 18.
14 to 18 with Mr. Fields.
And then the cadet program is 18 to 24.
So that program will be a feeder program, if you will, building on careers for young people who traditionally find it difficult to get into the police department, into that career, or into the fire department, or into STEM related careers on the engineer side relative to GRU. So we're trying to build that cadet program to work with those students in conjunction with some curriculum at Santa Fe University, trying to use that as a recruitment tool, if you will, too. So
I hope you'll coordinate with last week's speaker, Bruce McFadden, and help build the volunteer base, because there's a lot of teachers, retired teachers, that have been actively as volunteers. So don't forget them.
Thank you for that.
Mike Conroy, my partner and I have done some development here in town.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that held great interest about 10 years ago, actually up from 15 years till 10 years ago, was the status of the Kelly Power Plant. It is an invaluable asset insofar as it provides continuity between Depot Park and downtown. At one point, it was heralded as a great possibility for CRA efforts. But what is the status of that now? Last I heard, there was some discussion of student housing being awarded to a joint venture of John Fleming and a Baltimore developer. And I don't think that's what the city had in mind when we had 2 busloads of people that went up to see the Georgia Innovation Zone, as you may recall or may have heard about. And there was a lot of fervor. It offers great opportunity for, manufacturing and manufacturing startups which are very much necessary for providing meaningful employment to people who need it. And it addresses some of the goals that had been talked about and are much needed. Do you have any idea what's going on there? Perhaps Ms. Carter does.
I feel the same way you do, sir. Let's just ask Ms. Carter. But no, that project has languished. It is a huge economic development project that needs an engine behind it. And I think that, you know, with COVID, and I don't mean to use that as an excuse, but with that kind of slowdown in terms of aggressive movement, it just has not. But there is a lot of discussion around that property and how it might be utilized from an economic development point of view. But it takes more than just internal city conversations for that to happen. As I am now on board, it will take an action committee or some group out in addition to the players in the city to envision and to actually work out a plan for implementation. It is on the drawing board. It is a project that I have on my whiteboard, as Yvette knows, that we do need to put some energy and intelligent thinking behind. And so it has clearly not been forgotten. Thank you. Yes, sir. Yvette?
Thank you so much, Madam Intern, Manager. So Cynthia, I would like to present to you something to dedicate. This was presented to all our speakers by our President, David Gracie, who is, I'm in his stead today. And so it is about service and your dedication and, you know, and diligence in service to this community. I think is reflected in this. Our mission is service above self. And on the other side, the coin states some of the tenets that we try to strive and live our lives by. So with that, I want to thank you so much for coming today to our Rotary Club meeting and sharing this information, because this was such an important meeting. Thank you. Thank you. You're very welcome. Well, thank you everyone for coming today. And I think you would all agree that was a wonderful presentation and very informative. And so with that, I'm calling out the raffle ticket. Last three digits is 732. And I guess with that, I get to ring the bell.